Hi, good evening, everyone. I am so sorry for running late tonight. I've got a poorly child, so many apologies. So the last time we spoke to Marty Jones, we barely scratched the surface. We'd literally just done the intro on who Marty Jones is, how we got started into wrestling, and why he got into wrestling in the first place. And the very early days into his career. And I think that was about as far as we got. So there's no point in me waffling on. Without further ado, let's get him in. Hi, Marty.
Hi, Gemma.
Are you all right?
I'm not bad.
Is your phone charged this time?
Yes.
Just
It's fully charged as we speak.
good, just checking. So I just said in the intro, the last time I spoke to you, we barely scratched the surface on Marty Jones, the wrestler. We'd literally just done how and why you got into wrestling, and then the very early stages of your career. That was as far as we got.
Right.
So let's pick up or roughly pick up from where we left off.
Okay.
So when you was away, you was away a lot wrestling in your career.
Yeah.
How was that? What was life on the road like?
It's a bit difficult for me to say because if you're talking about the pro wrestling, I turned pro when I was 17, 18. And I'd only been in the business 6 months. And then I was off. I was very fortunate. I got a trip to Mexico. And it should have been 3 weeks, and I ended up stopping 3 months.
Bit of a difference there, isn't there?
Yeah, but you can imagine Mexico in 1977 is a lot different than it is now. I mean, it learned me a lot. I had good parents, and I had what I thought a good life, you know what I mean, as a kid. But when you went over there and you realised what it was all about, you know what I mean, poverty was unbelievable. They met us at the airport after a long flight, and then we walked off the runway into a taxi, and I'm not joking, the taxi had no doors on it. Honestly, it was just a yellow cab with no doors on it, zooming through Mexico City.
Was you slightly worried?
I just thought I was ready for the TV cameras. I thought it was a bit of a joke at first. But I was very fortunate to have that trip, and it learned me a hell of a lot about life. And at the time, I had a girlfriend that her job was on the cruise ships. So she worked away a lot. I worked away a lot. And it suited us both down on the ground, and we just met in the middle when we both got home. Because once I came back from Mexico, I think it all stemmed from when promoters look at your background, which unfortunately they don't do these days. And I think it's showing in the pro game at the moment, where people can just walk in the job and they've done no training whatsoever. But because I did very well at amateur wrestling, and I had the late, great Billy Robinson as my mentor for amateur wrestling, they thought, oh, he must be half decent, or he's all right, let's get him over.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I put the tales. I mean, I can be here all week telling you tales that happened that still stick in my mind, you know.
Right, go on then. Just hit us with a few. Give us a couple.
Well, very quickly, did I not mention it before about the hotel where Mr. Jones?
Yeah, you told me that one. Yeah, so
right. And then when you work hard on the road, and when you see a bus and you get on the bus and you have to travel, say, 6-8 hours on a bus, and the springs are up your ass because there's no upholstery, and at the side of you somebody might come on with a sombrero on and a blanket round them. They've got about 3 chickens under the blanket, or a goat. I'm telling you, that's what it was like. And when you stopped on the mountains, there'd be like an old wooden shed, and there'd be an old woman there with a big a big massive pan with like a bone in it, and that'd be the services like a soup, you know. Unbelievable.
Wow. I mean, I'm
But
not. I'd
yeah,
much prefer to stop at a Macca's.
yeah, but they didn't have them in '77 and things like that. But you know, as far as the wrestling was concerned, I've still got all the memorabilia and that, and they used me well. And there used to be a late great wrestler called Pedro Aguayo. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he was another Eddie Guerrero. You know, he was the dog's bollocks. He was good. And the thing is, we did a series of matches, and we ended up selling out Arena Mexico at L 33,000 people, and it's still the biggest payday that I ever got, even all them years ago. I came home.
Let's just touch on something that you said earlier on, just while I remember it, because you know what my memory is like. I'm rubbish. So earlier on, we've only been talking for a few minutes, but when you first mentioned people coming into wrestling, having no experience, I could so see where you're coming from with that. And people do expect to do a couple of training sessions and then be paid to perform. And that's just not the case, is it? You know, like you say, you do need that training. And alongside that training, I suppose you need to be doing like camp shows and things like that to build up not just your reputation, but your experience as well. Would you agree with that?
I agree with a little bit of it, because some people don't get paid.
Well, that's true. Some professionals don't get paid
And
at all, do they?
I'll hold my hand up for that. I do deals. My training academy, I get people. There's two ways of looking at it, Gemma. I love what I do. I defend this business 110%. And I respect anybody who puts a pair of wrestling boots on. And it makes me blood boil when they say, oh, that big fat balloon, Big Daddy, and this, that, and the other. Let me just tell you something. Big Daddy was a lifeguard. He was a Grenadier Guards. He trained 7 days a week, and he had a phenomenal physique on him. And he could do amateur wrestling and everything. And his brother gave him the gimmick. And all right, the pounds came on, this and that. But you think about it, giant haystacks, people like that. The life, I used to try to pick haystacks up all the time because I was the apprentice and he only lived in Prestwich down the road. And he knackered about 5 of my cars up in 3 months. But that's what you had to do. You had to serve your apprenticeship. And if you was going down to London, he was lolling on you for 5 hours on one shoulder. You had to get out the other end. You were glad to get out. But you've got to think this guy was 45 stone. And for him to do what he did. And the thing is, Gemma, people nowadays, not them type of people, but without them, we wouldn't have got paid. These guys sold Wembley out 3 times. Do you know what I mean? And people don't look at it that way. What I meant about people coming in the business, you only came in the wrestling business if your relation recommended you, or you'd done amateur wrestling, or you was a good amateur wrestler. It was like a closed shop. It was like the Magic Circle. And you had to look the part. I'm not saying skinny people do, but all I'm saying, these wrestling schools are popping up on every corner. And I don't know half the coaches for a start, and half of them haven't wrestled themselves. And good luck to them for running shows.
But how can you ethically run shows and train people with wrestling if you don't know how to do it yourself? That's like me opening up a training school here in Grimsby because I've done one training session.
Well, it goes on. That's what happens. I'm not going to do it because I could name them now. A lot of people are on social media saying they're going to do this and they're going to do that and they're going to do the other and this, that, and the other. They don't train, right, to a standard that I class as show ready. And I've proved it with some of them. They're hurting people. I even know some guys, big guys, that are phoning the promoters up saying, can you put me on with a small guy so I can throw him all over the place? It pisses me off. And this is what's wrong with the business. You know, if I thrown... Sorry.
If you could change the whole business, how would you change it? How would you make it better?
You can, in a way, but there must be some way. You know, I've been well known for speaking my mind, but you've only got to look at some of the wrestling schools, right? A lot of them don't even have a gym. Some of these promoters, they think they're going to make a quick buck at it, right? But there's people. Let's start down in Norwich, for arguing's sake. WAW, respectable, the Knight family. Then you come up to like Lincoln, you got Aaron and people like that. Then you get to Manchester, and then you go down Birmingham. But all them in between, I've never heard of half of them, and they're running shows.
Yeah, it can be quite scary, can't it?
Well, people are getting hurt, and they're putting kids, and they're putting kids on sometimes, and all they want them to do is 10 minutes. 10 minutes. We used to do an hour non-stop.
I mean, I couldn't do an hour. Not a chance.
We used to do it every other day. Championships. No. Championships are 15 5-minute rounds. Watch them on World of Sport. I can back up everything I've had to say. And another thing, we can jump in a car, drive to the venue, and it would only be then that I'd know who I was on with. Yeah. Half of these now, right, they'll say, try and get through 15 minutes. They have a nosebleed. What? 15 minutes?
That would be me.
But going back to the training, it's a damn hard job, this.
So how is it being a trainer? Like, you've gone from being a wrestler, a very, very well-known wrestler, and my God, you've been put through the ringer. And, you know, you've stood your ground and you stood the test of time. So how does that now feel to be a trainer? Are you hard on your, what do you call them?
I might be verbally hard, I tell the truth. But don't forget, we have all walks of life. We've got male, we've got female. And, you know, it's a great thing for autistic people. You know, it's there for them to do something. Now, everybody's got a standard.
Yeah.
And we've got some lads there that say that are physically able to do it. We've had the rugby players come. They only last 5 minutes. It's a totally different type of fitness.
Yeah, it is.
But it's the greatest business in the world. And like I say, I respect anybody who gets in there. But don't rush it. Don't get on a podcast like this and say, hey, listen, I'm going to challenge anybody. I'm going to shove your head up your ass. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the other. Back it up and do it.
Yeah.
But you know what makes a good wrestler? Nobody's touched on it. Nowadays, they're all paired off. I'll put him on with him, and then with him. Put him on with somebody that makes them work.
Yeah.
Put them on with somebody to make them look good as well as you. And I'm being big-headed. I was known as a good worker. I could go on with somebody, get my own stuff in, but also all I wanted me was a good match.
And what do you count as a good match? What is a good match for you specifically?
To keep the crowd occupied, to try and get the crowd cheering for A and B. Try and tell a story. Look the part. I'm going to swear now, don't bring fucking light tubes into a wrestling ring. I've said it now, that's it. Balls.
That's it. Do you feel better now you've said that?
Yeah, but I'm trying to get to the point. I mean, there is a point, there is a place for it. But I don't class it as wrestling. And if ever there was a cage match, if there was ever a steel cage match or a ladder match or a strap match, it was me and Rocco and me and Finlay that did them, because we was the only ones that could do them at that particular time. And I apologise if it didn't come out right, you know him as effing Joe, I said to him, can he wrestle 15-minute rounds? I know he can. But what would he prefer to do when he was on the podcast?
Well, to be fair, he actually said he likes both.
Exactly. But
yeah,
I want him, he's a damn good wrestler.
he is. Yeah, really good.
But I know what he wants to do. But that's going off the point. What I'm trying to say is, right, what's the first thing that you, as an observer wrestling, when Charlotte Flair or Ric Flair comes down that gantry, what's the first thing you notice?
Well, to be fair, with any wrestler, the one thing that I look for before the matches began is the entrance. For me, it's all about the entrance. If you've got me in your entrance, then that's it. I'm going to be behind you from the off. But if you've got
so you don't just walk in and say, "Hey, all right, this, that, and the other."
Yeah, I like that showmanship. I like it when somebody walks out and then they make you go, "Oh, hello."
All right, then let me ask you a question. If there's somebody that's never ever been on television before, the crowd don't know them, and they just open that curtain.
If the entrance is good, then I will support them. Purely because for me, that I like that. I like it when somebody comes out and starts giving you crap. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like that. Like you said earlier, you touched on it earlier, the crowd engagement. For me, that I love that.
Right. Well, I like it when Charlotte Flair walks out and she puts her arms out and you see their magnificent gowns. And you know that lady has invested in herself.
Yeah.
You know she's class. And when she takes that gown off, Jesus Christ, you go, wow. She works hard at her body. So did Ric Flair and people like that. They haven't even stepped in the ring. A lot of wrestlers make the name while they're in the ring.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, with the work that they do. But nowadays, it's a flat cap, a lollipop, and a string vest when they walk in. They don't. You name me how many wrestlers have got dressing gowns or. Not many.
No, there's not that many now.
I know it's the times change. Wrestling's like fashion.
Of course it is.
You know, it'll all come back again. It's like NXT UK. They were trying to get it more serious again, and it is going back that way.
Well, of course it is.
And going back to what you said about a coach, you know, everybody's welcome at the square circle with open arms. I don't want any egos. I don't want anybody who, you know, thinks you're better than everybody, and they know that from the first or second week. And what I'm saying, you know straight away by the time you get in that ring, have they done it before? Are they going to make it, or aren't they going to make it? But you try and guide them that way. It's got to be enjoyable as well. But they've got it easy these days. Because going back to what we were saying before about traveling and things like that, if you was lucky, Gemma, you wrestle 10 times a week. There's only 7 days in a bloody week. Because you should double up at camps. And your own circumstances. My first wage was £6. Well, £6, and you work 5 times, 30 quid a week when you were 17 was a lot of money.
It was. I mean, going back to this, so we're talking what, 70s then?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of money back then.
And when I was in Mexico and I came back with I remember it, 989 quid English money. I bought a house with it. I didn't buy the house. I put a mortgage down for me and the wife. And that was it. But, sorry?
Isn't it crazy when you think like how the times changed?
Yeah. But it'll come back.
Of course it will. Of course
it's coming back. The only thing is, we've got a lot more obstacles now. We're going through a bad time. You know, where I live in Oldham or Royton or a few shows in Leeds, I can't charge 25 quid, 30 quid a ticket. But I don't want them to pay that. You know why? Because they haven't got the big names there. I've got some kids and I've got some people that are really, really trying. And I believe working in front of an audience is all part of training. Going back to a lot of them that haven't. You know, they're not show ready.
I just think exactly. How do you become show ready without actually going out there in front of crowds? Because you can train all you want in a gym, in the ring, but how the adrenaline's going to kick in when you actually go out to a live audience is completely different.
Yeah, a lot of people, when they walk out for the first time, they freeze, they shit themselves because they don't. You understand what I mean? It's just the way it is. But if you can grasp it and listen to your coaches, or listen, I'm not all right. I've passed on. I had some great coaches, don't forget. So I've passed that on. But I've also had to move with the times as well. I've developed my own, what's the word, techniques, not necessarily moves. I do a lot of body language in my lot. If I pick my nose, you know something's going to come. If I scratch my ass, you know another thing's going to come. If I touch my ear, you know something else is going to come. You know what I mean? But wrestling's wrestling. Don't forget, we used to get 17 million viewers every Saturday. Right?
Yeah.
And the day they took it off TV, our business died. Because the match I had was, say, Rocco or Finlay. They'd watch it at home and then they'd read the newspaper and say, hey, remember that? Marty Jones and Finlay, when they knocked shit out of each other. They said they're on at Oldham next week. It was our shop window.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these little things, appearance, attitude, egos, this, that, and the other, you know, all add up to. I mean, at one time, it was just 4 or 5 matches for a 2-3 hours stint.
Yeah.
Some shows now, you know, it's 8-10 matches.
So going back to the ego part of it, because although you are, I'm going to use the word famous because that's exactly what you are.
I wouldn't say I'm famous. When you say the wrestling business, I mean, I'm famous in my own town because people see me and people know me. I mean, I used to wrestle and meet up, say I went to Hanley, which is only an hour and a half away. My missus used to have 6 pints on the table for when I came back. It was only an hour away. And they'd all say, oh, he's coming back then, is he? But was dealing with the old folk people. Oh, I saw him on telly today. He's lovely, isn't he? And all this. Yeah. And that's a job itself. And then all of a sudden, can you come and open a fete for us? Yeah, okay. Can you get us any free tickets? Well, I'll try my best.
So anyway, stop skimming over it. You are famous, whether you admit it or not, you are. So shut up. So even with all that and your career that you've had in wrestling, that you have done phenomenally well, you have absolutely smashed everything. So how did you keep your ego in check? Was there any point?
Sorry?
Was there any points at all where you did get a little bit too big for your boots?
My second match.
Okay.
I went into Wrighton Stadium in Bolton. And don't forget, we were dealing with hard men as well that could wrestle and they could street fight and they used to fight on the booths. And there's a guy called Abe Ginsberg out the Black Diamonds. And he was one hell of a nice fella, but he was hard. He used to, for a living, box on the booths and that. And I went in and did my match. I come out. He grabbed me by the lapel of my jacket and threw me up against the wall. I didn't know what the hell I'd done wrong. He said, sit down, listen to me. Now, they got a lot of respect with me because I'd come from Billy Robinson's gym. I had a better start than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And with being a British amateur champion at wrestling, you know I could do the wrestling bit as well, where some of them can't. You understand what I mean? There's 2 ways of looking at it. But this Abe Ginsberg, he pulled me at one side. He said, you'd know it as the Bret Hart sharpshooter. I just knew it as a leg lock. I put the sharpshooter on a guy who was lighter than me, and I let him kick out of it. because it
Okay.
wasn't a submission. I just put it on. And he said to me, for one, you never use that leg lock again, as long as I'm for wrestling. And two, if you put it on, nobody kicks out of it. Why? What's I done wrong? That's my finish. And when I put it on, it finishes all my opponents. That's it. Don't do it again. And I never did again.
Oh, really?
No. That was his finish. And everybody knew when the leg lock came on, boom, that was it, match over.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the American wrestling, even a few years back, you had like Kevin Owens doing the cannonball in the corner. You had somebody else doing something. That was their move.
Yeah. What was your finishing move? Which one did you prefer to finish with?
Well, I used to like doing a different version of the leg lock. But like I say, I look back now and again with a bit of pride because I'm very fortunate. A lot of my matches, and if people are listening to this and they just go on YouTube and put Marty Jones wrestling, that's it. I like to wrestle and entertain. And then all of a sudden, I went down London one time, Croydon, and said, now I'd won the title there off Bobby Guitano. So I was over as a babyface there, and I was on with Danny Boy Collins. And he was a great wrestler, by the way. But there's just something inside me that I can get more out of this. Travelling down from Oldham, of all places, just outside Manchester, they class their lardy-dardy down there at Croydon. Up here is a shithole, if you know what I mean. So there, you've got to picture it in their mind.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a young girl who comes all the way up from Leicester or down Coventry area. She comes all the way up to train with us. So that, to me, before we start, she's committed.
Yeah.
Right? Kiara, she's called. Right? And she's a bit lardy-dardy when she wants to be. A gimmick, if you know what I mean. Now, she's got very well-educated parents. And it suits her down to the ground. And she can talk. But when she comes into the ring, she looks around, she'll say, where are we? This don't look like Kensington in London, where I come from. She's over straight away. You understand what I mean?
Oh,
So I said, it's a bit poignant because Tina Turner died, as you know, to the day. And I used to come out to Simply the Best, my music. But also, I used to say when I was down London, especially Croydon, where I won the title and they switched to being a heel, I said, I'm the best from the Northwest. And that stuck. And then he started booing me, and then I started going the other way, you know what I mean? Just things can click.
I mean, to be fair, though, you were simply the best.
Give over.
Do you miss it, though? Do you miss being in the ring?
Of course I do.
If you could have your time and redo it all again, would you?
Oh. The only thing is, I'm going to tell you something personal now, right? It all depends what your life's like outside of wrestling as well. Because I was very fortunate to have a woman that she's very career-minded, but gave me two wonderful kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then tragic it is. And she passed away when she was 41. So I had to be a father, a breadwinner, go to the meat market at 5 o'clock in the morning, graft till 12, depending where I was from, pick the kids up from school, take them home. We had a family friend that we worked out all right. But I'd drive all the way down to Croydon or Portsmouth or wherever, wrestle, drive all the way back. And sometimes I didn't go home. I went to the meat market straight away. So nobody can tell me I've had it easy. It's very, very hard.
You've definitely not had it easy by any stretch of the imagination.
And
but
also,
you've worked hard.
I've been involved with some I was at that time, Gemma, when I've been with the old school, let's call it. I was a young lad in the old school, and then I'm an old fella in the new school. So I've seen both sides of it all. You understand what I'm getting at? It's like fashion, like I said before.
Yeah.
It comes back round. It comes round again. And it's getting to the point now that even the Americans who like everything times 10, they're going, hey, hang on a minute. This doesn't look right or whatever. And I always tell the tale to my students sometimes, especially if you've got children. Have you ever seen the Dumbo, the film?
Yeah.
The flying elephant? Yeah?
Yeah, love Dumbo.
Well, there you go. You've answered your own question. How can elephants bloody fly?
Well, they can't, can they? But, you know, it's all about the imagination, isn't it?
Exactly. And what I'm trying to say is, if your kids who you took down to watch Dumbo or whatever enjoyed it, you'll take them again.
Yeah.
And wrestling's exactly the same. If they enjoyed it, they'll go back again.
That is true. That is really true. I mean, it's hard to know exactly how to keep everybody happy because you're not always going to keep everybody in the audience happy. But I would say as long as you've got 85% of the audience leaving happy, then you're onto a winner.
Well, in our days, there again, I keep saying nowadays, there were 5 matches. The first match would be Johnny Saint and Steve Gray. Wrestle, technical. Second match with somebody like him and him, who was absolutely boring to death. Because Big Daddy was coming on next. Take the crowd right down. And then you'd have a wrestling match, say, me and Pete Roberts or something like that. And then last would be Cat Weasel or Les Kelly to send them home happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Play to your strengths and weaknesses.
But there's not many wrestlers that can adapt work. You're on with somebody and he's like a local lad. Go in and knock shit out of him, but let him have a big comeback, put him over. Work, but be safe as well. There were not, there was none of that planning matches in that, Gemma. It was just work.
It was, I mean, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how any of you do it because it is so hard hitting. Just the fitness levels that you need to have on their own. It's absolutely shocking. It's mind-blowing because when you're sitting and watching it and you've never been in the ring, it looks easy, right?
Well, it might look easy to you or to the people, but that means you haven't connected with the crowd.
Sometimes it just looks like it doesn't look hard work, but it really is.
Oh, of course it's hard work, but also, listen, whether I'm right or wrong, it's supposed to be 2 people, 2 males or 2 females, right? Depicting 2 people competing.
Yeah.
Depicting a fight. At one time, there was no female wrestlers. They weren't allowed. But I can only put my hand on heart and say the women at the top level now are a lot better than the guys. Phenomenal. But they have got a good teacher.
This is it for me. I think that's key, really. Your trainers.
Well, the trainers that's been in the job, and I didn't mean me by that when I said that, and the girls. I'm talking about Finlay, who's the number 1. Yeah. He's in America teaching every superstar you see there, especially the females. Because he believes in the job and he teaches them it's real.
Do you stay in touch with him?
Finlay? Yeah. Only now and again, because he's you have to know Finlay. He's a friend, but it's business as well.
Do you stay in touch with many from your wrestling days?
There's not many left, love.
Well, there's a few left.
Like who?
Well, Dave's obviously still around.
Yeah, well, he's in America, isn't he? So he has his own life, and
Yes,
and
that does make
to
it
be honest,
difficult.
it's like Ridge Holland who are trained. You try and get hold of him, he messages me. Regal messages me. It's no good me messaging them. They're always on the road.
So that
You know,
must be
it's
difficult as well to maintain. And for you, that must have been hard as well when you was traveling all the time, maintaining those relationships when you're away from home so much.
yeah, but we didn't have social media and that. We had one of them bloody house bricks, one of them big phones.
Hello?
You know, if you I don't
Hello?
know, if you were lucky. You know what I mean? So, but Johnny Saint's a true friend of mine, and and Colin Johnson. Believe it or not, them two guys, Tony St. Clair, they'll just get in the car and come down to the gym.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, Colin's there every Saturday morning. You know, it was funny the other day. This newspaper reporter came and he said, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And Colin's there, and he was sat down, Colin, and this guy come in and he said, from the olden times. Oh yeah. And what happened, we were plugging a show that I'm trying to put on in another plug, July the 8th. Well, I had a match, a show on June the 3rd, but I've cancelled it because United and City are playing at Wembley on the same night, and I don't think it'll draw, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd clash a bit,
So
wouldn't
anyway,
it?
this reporter said, and what you don't know, I think I mentioned it last time, this week has been hell for me because I do a lot of fishing. I get out of the house, I'm with my little ducks and fresh air. I'd rather be up at 5:30 in the morning than sat around. I live on my own, and the thing is, that loneliness is a killer. That's
Yeah.
what you miss from being on the road and meeting up with the lads, you know. But the thing is, this reporter, he had to say it. He said, it's all fixed wrestling, isn't it? They don't get hurt. So I said, no, you're right. Colin looked at me because he knows I'd probably smash his head in normally. I said, Colin, it's not worth arguing,
It's
right?
not.
So all of a sudden I said, shall we do it? He went, go on then. He stood up. I stood up. We both dropped our pants, right? I've got 17 screws in my ankle. I've had 3 knee replacements. Colin's got a false leg on. I said, does that answer your question?
Good time to bring onto it. I was trying to touch on it last time, but I think your phone died. So for these people like the reporter that thinks that you can't get hurt because, it's all fake and you can't get hurt by wrestling at all, what injuries have you actually received or that has been a direct cause because of wrestling?
Well, obviously, when you're full-time wrestling up and down, it's all right saying you keep yourself in good order and you don't get hurt. That's not true. The thing is, I started wrestling when I was 6 years old, right? I'm just 42 now. You know that's not true.
I think
Listen,
you might
I'm
be
sick.
missing, and I mean, I don't want to embarrass you
No,
in
I'm
any sort
telling
of
you,
way,
I'm just
shape,
trying to
or
add a bit of
form.
humor into it.
But
I've been wrestling.
well,
I've been wrestling.
I was.
I've been wrestling 67 years.
See, I was just going to say, you're only 42, but you're missing your VAT.
Yeah, but the problem is, my body's just give up now. When you're in the car all the time and you was wrestling all the time and I've slept in the car many a time. Wife used to just, driving back from Edinburgh or Aberdeen. You couldn't get out, you seize up. But the problem is with me now, I've had these, I don't want you to think it's a sob story. What I'm saying is I needed an ankle fusion because of all the bumps that I've had. There's a gap in my ankle.
Yeah.
And the bloke said you should be in a wheelchair. So they did all the metal work and put 17 screws in a plate in it. And then one of the screws came through the side of my foot. So he took the screw out and all the other screws, then my ankle snapped again. So I'm 3 years back down the line.
Oh.
So I'm walking on crutches now.
But that is
And,
a direct
and
injury from years and years of wrestling, right?
yeah, it took its wear and tear. I remember doing a chain match, a what's it match? Sorry, a cage match. I was one of the first to do it. They did it in America, and so we did one here. We did it at Croydon. I did one at Bristol the night before, and it went so well. Other way around. Sorry, I did one at Croydon, and it went so well. The promoter said, we're going to do it at Bristol because I had a lot of heat on with Danny Boy Collins because he was the local lad. And we just took it for granted. And it wasn't a cage that you see that comes down from the ceiling, like, you know, on the motorway where you see this metal netting. There was just 4 sides of that strapped together. So the first night it worked all right. The second night I was getting into the ring. I'm the best from the Northwest. Just shut up and watch and learn. And for some unknown reason, right out of character, I'm on the apron. Danny Boy Collins drop kicks me in the back. And as he drop kicked me, naturally I just jumped. And I impaled my arm here, right? See from there?
Yeah.
I don't think you can see. From there, from there to there, 330 stitches up, inside and out. He goes from here all the way down there, from there all the way down there. They took me off like a piece of meat, and it was Julie Amer that ran out of dressing rooms, and she put a tourniquet around my arm, and they took me to the Mayfair Hospital. Or Mayday, I think it is. Mayday, yeah, the Douglas Bader Hospital in London, and virtually stitched my arm back on. It turned out like a piece of mincemeat. And you know why I remember it that well? I got a bollocking off the wife because she said, what are you stopping out for? I said, what do you mean, what am I stopping out for? It's your daughter's birthday. I said, I'm not stopping out, I'm in hospital.
My arm's hanging off, love. I'll be home soon. Right.
But obviously knees and that, but would I do it all again? Yeah, of course I would. But I must admit lately, I just feel like, it's like I go to the gym Wednesdays and Saturdays, I have to sit down, and it's heartbreaking. But when I look at it, Carl Gotch, Billy Robinson, they all had walking sticks. And they go, hey, put that there. No, put that there. Bang, up. You know what I mean? I used to use the walking stick. But so I'm following in some great footsteps, you know.
I mean, to be fair, you've got to think the amount of pressure that is on the body, especially.
I just want to see people doing well now. That's if I can help in any way and put something back in the business, that'll do me.
So, okay, right, let's go back because I hadn't even done any of my questions again. I write all these questions down for you, Marty, and I get all prepared, and we don't even do any of them. We just waffle on.
I'll drink to that.
Well, I would, but mine's empty now. Right, so
you fire away.
How many title matches have you actually held over the years? Oh, not title matches, sorry, title championships. How many belts have you held?
I've had obviously the world champ heavy middleweight belt. I've had the British, I'd say 4. I've had the British light heavyweight, heavy middleweight, world title.
You had to vacate one though, didn't you? Because you held a higher title already. Which one? No, was I got
fat.
I've got that same problem, to be fair. My middle-age spread is spreading.
No, it's just the way. That's another thing that gets me. And I'll hold my hands up. We had a tremendous sponsor who sponsored some belts for us and it looked really well. It was a bit of a gift to the wrestling school. So I use the belts and I'll say the squared circle British Championship or squared circle Ladies Championship. What you probably don't realise, Gemma, there was 10 belts at one time.
Yeah.
Just 10. lightweight, going through middleweight, heavy middleweight, blah, 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 tag team champions.
Yeah.
So if I went working for Dale Martins in London, I'd still have the British belt. I'm the champion.
Yeah.
So if one of their guys beat me, they would become British champion. So they made the belts work in them days. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the belt had to come back with us. Or they dropped the belt. You see, there were 6 promoters at one time, like joint promotions.
Yeah.
So you'd work for one in one town and work, say McManus and Palo would come up here and me and Rocco would go down there, or Johnny Saint, just to change the bill. And there's a fact that nobody can believe what I'm going to tell you now. At one time, right, there was 52 shows. 52 shows in the summertime down London in 1 week. They had to get the rings done, alter the show time, and they'd do a camp show there at Maidstone, then zoom over there, put the ring up and wrestle there. Then it was that popular.
And it's not like putting the ring up and taking it down is quick and easy either, is it? Because it's not.
Hell no. Them rings were like, they weren't like they are today. These things were like bleeding battleships. Every ring, a lot of rings were also at the venues, you know. I mean, Bellevue and Aberdeen. I can imagine some of my colleagues now, Tony St. Clair and Colin Johnson and all them. Ooh, you look at your date sheet and it'd be Aberdeen. Oh, Jesus. 8-hour drive and then wrestle on that ring. Bellevue, Manchester, 22-foot square it was, an old boxing ring. No wonder you got battered.
Yeah, it says it all, right?
Yeah.
So, you've held how many titles?
It's not how many titles. I think I've had about 4 titles. It's just how many times you defended it, you know what I mean?
Well,
but titles are non-entity now.
Well, it is.
It winds me up. Because if I said it, people think I'm having a pop at these people. And in a way I am. But I don't want to start an argument anymore. I can't be arsed with it anymore. Right?
There's
because I can.
You've just got to let go, right? You just.
I see bits of kids who've never had a match being a world champion. How do you work that out?
Yeah, no, I'm still trying to work that out myself because I've seen a few photos lately of people.
Exactly, right. That's it. So how can you sell that promotions? Build somebody up to get a match with somebody. I used to go on with Rocco or Finley. I used to wrestle. Do you know what the promoter used to say to us? Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't tell me to win, lose, or draw. Because if I thought it'd be better, I beat Finley if he was the champion. Right? And we had the crowd in the middle of our hand. I'd win or he'd win.
Yeah.
So we could get a return out of it. I was on with Rocco 6 times at the Kelvin Hall. Sold it out every time. With a good bill rounders, obviously.
Well, you and Rocco had long-standing a feud anyway, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Long-standing. How many years?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. People still pull me now and say, "Ooh, you and Rocco used to knock shit out of each other, didn't you?" And the honest truth was, Rocco, God bless him, he was, how can I put it? He was erratic at times.
Yeah.
He could snapmare you, and you were sat there looking that way. If I had false teeth, he'd kick you in the back. Your teeth would land in front row, and you'd get up then, and you start a proper fight. But if you was on with Finley and he'd chin you, you could chin him back. You know what I mean? It was that way inclined because we wanted it to make it look good.
So what was your favourite ever match?
That's hard, that, because I've had a favourite match in every country that I remember.
I know.
Obviously,
I know. And you've visited quite a few countries as well, haven't you? I was trying to work out how many countries you'd actually visited wrestling, and in the end I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll be here
you
all
better
day.
say where I haven't wrestled.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what I mean. I was going through it all, and I just thought there's too many.
I mean, I was honoured to that stick in my mind. Like, my grandson's nearly 2 now, and I just hope I'm round long enough to tell him the matches. You know what I mean? The thing is, he's in Australia, and the good thing about it, if I was to pick, say, the top 10 matches that I said, yeah, to my grandson, watch them because they're on YouTube. The only one that I haven't got because it wasn't allowed is when I was tagging with Andre the Giant a lot in Japan. And the one that Andre and myself went on with Inoki and Fujinami, that was a cracking match. Any match with Andre was, because I did all the bloody work while he stood outside and drew the crowds in. But the thing is, the one with Owen Hart on TV, because whatever Ken Walton said, as Ken Walton said, he was the voice of wrestling. If he said it was a good match or whatever, the crowd believed him. If he said he screws his leg off in a minute and hits him over the head with it, they'd believe it. That's just the way it was. And what you don't know, when Owen, I'd been on with Owen 2 years before in Calgary, so we knew our matches. Anyway, he came over to this country, and the promoter obviously wanted it to be on telly. So with that, there was a bad weather. It was at St George's Hall in Bradford, or King George's Hall in Bradford, whatever it is. And he was supposed to fly into Leeds Bradford Airport from London, but the weather was bad. So he went to Manchester Airport. And what they do, Emma, there's 6 matches for World of Sport. 3 will be filmed for one Saturday, and 3 for the following Saturday, and they probably do 1 more to put in the can, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there were none of them cameras like you got now that follow you around. It was just 2 cameras like grandstand. He filmed it. That was it. And he said, right, Mark, you're on second. So that was the main event for this particular Saturday. Well, the first match has gone in, and Owen hasn't arrived yet. Because they had to get him a taxi from Manchester Airport to Bradford, or somebody went to pick him up. So they switched it, and they put us on 5th then, which was the second part of the show. And he still hadn't arrived at our intermission. Anyway, they got in touch with him. He rung in, and he put his gear on in the taxi. And he came straight out. As true as I'm sat here talking to you, he came out, shook hands, and we went in the ring without saying a word, planning anything out. And I reckon I forget how many rounds it was now. But if you watch it and have that in your mind, because I knew his stuff and he knew my stuff. Plus, we knew my way of coaching now, body language, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Because if them cameras pick you up, they'll pick you up talking. Not like nowadays. Because if they've got guys that are filming, if you see somebody talking, they'll go to the crowd, or they'll go to an advert, or they'll go to another camera. And Ken Walton said, this is the best. Now, don't forget, he was on for years. And he did Wednesday nights sometimes. It actually made me, because he said this is the best match I've ever commentated on. And
high praise indeed.
Yeah, but that stuck in everybody's mind. And if I can honestly say it myself, I watch it now and again because I thought he was a phenomenal worker. Owen.
Yeah. I have seen that match actually. Before I interviewed you for the first time, I spent hours and hours and hours trawling through YouTube and looking at all the videos that are out there. So I've seen quite a few of yours, and they are, like you say, they're just phenomenal. So one of the questions that we've actually got in the chat room and it's actually a good point to go on to it, is, in your opinion, what's the thing that wrestling is missing nowadays?
What's missing?
Yep, what's missing from wrestling?
It's a difficult one, that, because if I said something like professionalism, getting off the subject of wrestling, and there's still a lot of lads that can still wrestle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I think good promoting is a key thing. But as far as the wrestling's concerned, make it more competitive. Don't make it look like a gymnastic show or slapping each other's leg, or, you know. That's only my opinion, because that's the style, you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. And ultimately, whatever we discuss is your opinion anyway. Not everybody's going to agree with it, and they don't have to. One of the other questions is, who was the best at being a showman and why? So out of your time in wrestling, who was the best showman?
There's one in every city, really, wasn't there? I mean, everybody had the role to play. Let's go to the World of Sport days rather than abroad. I mean, everybody knows. I class a showman. Everybody knows Hulk Hogan, for argument's sake. You know.
Well, you wrestled him, didn't you?
Well, we did in a way. It was we was in the Victoria Station in Manchester. They came over to do a tour, and then just before it was all scheduled to go ahead, there was some loophole where they couldn't just come to our country, wrestle, get the money and shoot off. It was a VAT thing. You had to declare what you were earning, so they had to have English people on. Well, we was on, but we was on against each other. So I think, if I remember rightly, on our side, it was me, Tony St. Clair and Drew McDonald against Hogan, somebody else, and somebody else. You know what I mean?
So anyway, back to the question. Sorry, the showman.
It's hard because Big Daddy was a great showman. In fact, we're all great showmen in our own right. And it's like, it's who them people remember. Les Kelly was a great, Cat Weasel was a great showman. Johnny Saint was a great showman. Because it's show business.
It's really hard to narrow it down, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a lover of Kendo Nagasaki as a person. But as a showman, with the mask on, and he kept it on all the time, in and out of the ring, he kept himself to himself and did this, that, and the other. You know, he was a great showman. Yeah. Good wrestler as well.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember your worst ever match?
I'm going to be big-headed now. I know what could have been my worst ever match. And I'm going to be big-headed now. I've never, ever, and if anybody wants to tell me I had a bad match, I'd like to know which one it was. Because I am being big-headed now. That's what I was good at, pulling the match out of shit if they wasn't ready. But when I wrestled, Gemma, they were all class wrestlers in their own right. But the worst one ever, and you've got to watch it, and for the people that are listening, if you have not seen it, because half of them will be saying, I've answered this before, is the one against Digger Nolan. Okay, and it's on YouTube. Very quickly, right? I was actually a rugby league. I taught kids rugby as well. Because my daughter's a great rugby player. And going off the subject, there's always a lot of banter between Australia and England, especially on the rugby field.
Yeah.
So I went down to a place called Edmundwike, which is in the Midlands. TV show. Didn't know who I was on with. Gets there. Promoter meets me at my door. And he starts laughing straight away. I said, what's up? He said, you're on with a guy. He's an Aussie. I said, right. And we haven't had any Australian wrestlers for a while, like, you know. So he says, I want you to go on No, he never told me to win, lose, or draw in championships. What we decided between us. He said, will you let him win in a non-title match? I said, yeah, sure. And if it's good enough, we'll bill it up. England, Australia in a World Championship match. Great, not a problem. I said, he said, he's come over, he's on a world tour. He said, but I've got him a hat and I've put all them strings and the corks on to make him like an Aussie. And I've called him Digger Nolan. I said, right, Digger's a good name. So anyway, I went in and some of the lads play cards before the, the matches. And as soon as I walked in, you knew there was an atmosphere. There was something there. And Tony St. Clair's gone. So I goes over. I said, hello, pleased to meet you. He looked at me, he says, this is Marty Jones. I said, yeah. He said, you know I'm winning, don't you? That's all he said. I said, I believe so, yeah. Right. I believe you've been on a world tour, haven't you? He says, yeah. Not in Australian talk, obviously. He was Aussie, to be honest. He wasn't a phony. So I said, where have you been? I've just come out of Mexico and then I went to Germany and I went here, there. And I said, oh, how long ago was that? Oh, I'm on a world tour now. I said, well, that's amazing. Really amazing. I said, why? I said, so have I. I never saw you. So if you watched the match and if you knew anything about wrestling, I said to the promoter, do me a favour, I can smell a rat here, right? Make it a no rounds match and we'll go as long as you want. Because I don't think, well, I went in and if you're conversant to wrestling, when somebody's feeding somebody stuff and they don't know what they're doing, and when they kick you, it's hard as hell. And then the guy, Gemma, he was shit, right? And he thought he was winning. So I whispered in his ear, run. And as he ran, I dropped down. As he went over the top, I drop kicked him. And I knocked him out. And I mean knocked out. And the funny thing is, he went to the changing rooms, got all his gear, and left. And was never seen again.
That's nice sportsmanship.
Well, he got a receipt for being stiff and leady, and he was awful. Awful.
That's shocking.
But I tried. And even the promoter said you did right because he's just, he's thinking of an idea to try and draw a crowd in, But in Japan, I was there when the great Antonio got kicked in the head by Inoki. I was on that bill. One of the highlights for me was meeting Muhammad Ali, just shaking him by the hand. He thought we were stars. He couldn't believe what we did. And there's a lot of myths about that match, when Inoki was on with Ali.
I mean, how was that? How was meeting Ali?
Well, the promoters came in. It was a big thing because Chuck Webner was there. He was a boxer as well. And he'd been there a couple of weeks before. He was going on with somebody. The thing is, you've got to realise that it was the first ever satellite wrestling show. It was going to be beamed all over the world. And it was a total disaster. It was a flop. They had it at the Apollo in Manchester. There was one promoter and two workers. There was 3 people there watching it. That was it. It was a new thing anyway. But anyway, what happened? All the corridors were lined out with all the Japanese wrestlers, and when people walked past, and whether you believe it, you don't. We was told, right, don't go and pass that gate there, down there. Don't talk to anybody. Don't. The security was unbelievable. I mean, you talk about the biggest, when you say showman, biggest sports personality in the world, aren't you?
Yeah.
But what you don't know, Antonio Inoki could wrestle a little bit, Olympic wrestling, and he was just going to go for politics, like Prime Minister of Japan. So he was a hell of a big name as well. And we found out after the event, with 5 minutes to go, they hadn't decided who was going to win or lose because the American mafia were involved in it. And they said, Muhammad Ali can't lose. And the Japanese, who were as strong as the Americans, mafia, said, well, our man can't lose, especially in Japan. Yeah. So they came up with an idea, they'd do a draw. And they did 15 3-minute rounds. And the other stipulation was that Ali can't hit him while he's on the floor. Can hit him stood up. So they went in, and Antonio Inoki sat on his ass for 15, I think it was 12 rounds, to be sorry. And he just kicked his leg all the time. Then the odd time he got open, Ali would throw a few punches, then he'd sit down again. And they did a draw. And as soon as the match finished, Ali was rushed off to hospital with thrombosis in his leg. Because you kicked him for 12 rounds.
Oh my God.
The place was packed. Packed. It was a big thing. And these are the things that you remember, you know what I mean?
So what was the absolute highlight of your career?
Starting it. I mean, it's just, it is what it is, and I'll just be honoured, been honoured to do it. Because as far as I'm concerned, I wish I could wave the magic wand, and I want to do 5 more matches. Now, in my head, I'm all right at doing it, but my body, at the moment, I've been fishing for the last 3 days, and I've been in agony. And I know exactly what it is. I've got that much metalwork in my legs. The heat has made me the expansion on me all the joints.
Yeah.
But if I can pass a bit of knowledge on, I wish I could still I'm going to try and work on the last thing before I call it a day. I'll always be there, you know, for anybody, but I've got to learn that times are changing. But I would still like, there's some really good, I've got some good mates in the business. I mean, I'm very friendly with Valletta Wayne over in Malta. He comes and wrestles for us, all Japan champion. Michael Majeski out in Finland, I recommend people to work for him. I was supposed to be going, I might be talking prematurely now, I was going to go to America in the next fortnight, doing 8 seminars. But it looks as though it's fell through, which I'm disappointed about, but there is a reason for it, which I can't say at the moment. And Johnny Saint was going to be coming with us. So that'd have been nice, but I still want to go up and down the country and visit these wrestling schools, not rip them to bits, not do whatever the coach is doing, fine. I just want to add my little bit of a stamp to these up-and-coming wrestlers.
You see, I think that's great. I think that is such a nice thing to do and to want to do, because no matter which way you look at it, yeah, there's a lot of people that can say, oh, you just want to come and say blah, 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 rip us to shreds. But that's not the case, is it? All you want is for people to go and do something that they absolutely love doing, but for them to be safe at the same time.
Yeah, but also there's Carl Gotch, Billy Robinson, and people like that. When you say something, right, there's a way of doing these seminars now. I've altered the way I do it. I'll say, right, you two, go ahead. And they'll do something, I'll say, why have you done that? I'll tell them why have they done it. Well, they can't give me an answer. You know what the answer is? I'll do it on air now. Okay. Whoever wrestlers are watching here, right? Tell me what the first thing is a lot of them do. The bell goes, they meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Why go in the middle?
Oh, well, I would have just assumed that's because you'd have more room,
Exactly.
right?
No. And also, it's normally a headlock then. Shoot them into the ropes, tackle them, shoot again, sleep, hold the top vault. But the problem is, take an arm, take an head. Everybody's doing the same stuff. You've got to be different. If you get lost to do a high spot, stick your head through the ropes and ask the front row. They'll tell you what to do. You name me a wrestler, an American wrestler. Anyone you want.
Oh, God.
Anyone.
Yeah, but now you've put me on the spot. You know what I'm like? This is why I'm the interviewer and never being interviewed.
Yeah, but all right.
I go, bleh.
No, all right. Ask me this question. Who would you have liked to have wrestled in America?
So who would you have liked to have wrestled in America?
I would like to have wrestled The Rock. I'd like to have wrestled... Eh?
I can see why The Rock.
Right. Steve Austin. Ric Flair. Yeah. Eddie Guerrero. In other words, all the guys that were true ultimate professionals.
Yeah.
They love the job, what they do. Now, you say to these kids, who's The Undertaker, you'll know who it is. Who's Marty Jones? They've no idea.
Well,
but I like, if I can just touch on Aaron Sharp for just a second.
Who?
It's people, Aaron.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
What?
I said, sorry, I couldn't resist.
Resist what?
When I went, who?
Oh, right, sorry. Thought you couldn't hear me. No, people like him and his good lady have got wrestling to art, right? Now, you know them personally, right? Where are they going to go? They're happy at what they're doing. They're doing it as a team, right? Yeah. And I know what happens. A few go there to his training school. And I'll be honest with you, I'll say it on there now. I went to his training school and I went home. I nearly cried. I was so disappointed. It's the worst one I'd ever done. Because I'd got my head round that there's going to be a load of grown-ups there. But it were kids, and I like doing kids. Don't get me wrong, but I had to change all my mindset. Yeah. That's why I'm going to go back again and do it, you know. But I have it at my place. And he'll have it at his place. I've seen, he thinks I'm not daft, but I see all the little clips he's doing. And it's good, right? But behind every good man there's a good woman, they say, or vice versa. It's hard, this business, to wrestle up and down the country then, go training 3 or 4 nights. You've got your own family to look after. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, it's like you're doing a great job doing this. You know, what you're doing, you get through. I should have done a podcast tonight in America. Forgot all about it. Then he rang me and said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy.
Oh, Marty, you've ditched
what?
America for me.
Yes. No, but the thing, I don't know the guy, but he does what's it? I've looked at some of his stuff afterwards, and it's all, I'm not going to say any names, but it's just all tables, ladders, and chairs and all that shit. You know?
You see, yeah.
But they're after something. I think what happens as well, you get 1 or 2 people that think they are show ready, and then they leave you and start promoting themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't blame anybody for having a go. But when you weigh it up, there's a ring to a hire. This cost of living thing and fuel and all that, it's put us on his ass, to be honest.
Oh, completely. It's hard. It's hard work. It's such, I mean, I'm saying that and all I do is sit here and do a podcast. Do you know what I mean? But then, like you say, you know, Aaron and Sabrice are my friends and I see how hard they work for LWP day in, day out, year after year. And it's not easy.
What thanks should they get? What thanks should they get?
Well, I think the fans leaving after having a really good time at a show is the thanks that they get for it, to be honest.
Yeah. Then you ask yourself, what money did they make?
Well, probably nothing, to be fair, because, hey, everything costs, doesn't it? Like you say, the
Yeah,
ring, the
right.
maintenance of the ring, the
Yeah.
venue, fuel, it literally all adds up. So probably nothing, but ultimately, as you said, it's a
Well,
passion
it's giving them a chance to get on the ladder, you see.
and the pride of saying,
Yeah, and
"We've done
they'll leave.
this."
A lot of them will leave him. They can do better on their own. This, that, and the other. But anyway, that's the wrestling business, you know.
Well, this is,
But
well, it's any
still,
business.
there's still a lot of shows up and down the country that are doing all right. But I do think there's a north-south divide. You know, I went to some shows down London and charging 20, 25, 30 quid a ticket. Where I'm from, we can't get anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I personally wouldn't. Well, if I'm totally honest, I won't be able to afford to pay 20, £30 a ticket.
No. Well, I do a family ticket for 30 quid.
But you see, that's different. That's a family ticket, right? So that's the whole family going out for an evening, having a laugh, enjoying it for 30 quid, as
That's right.
opposed to 120.
You know,
Crazy.
so.
Marty, we've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes, and we're gonna have to do a part
Right,
three.
you go, you fire away, whatever you want to tell me.
Well, no, I think we're gonna have to do a
Well,
part
next
three.
time I see you, you won't be eating on your own. You know that. I'm still going to carry this date job on.
I'm still waiting for my date, Marty. When are you coming up, by the way?
I think with this America thing maybe falling through, I've thanked Aaron for giving me a chance. I'm bringing a couple of my trainees up to the castle. What's it called? That Mablethorpe, is it, or somewhere?
Suncastle.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. And he's given me 3-4 dates to come up in. I think they'll start in August.
Oh, so soon enough then, Marty, we'll be on our date.
Yeah, I'll let them go on their own. I'll stay over and we'll get.
Yeah, they could do whatever they want. We're going on a date, so bye everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're probably gonna have to do a part three, Marty, because when I say I have spent hours researching, and I'm not wasting my time. So we're probably gonna have to do a part three at some point.
Like I said to Aaron, rather than me keep gobbing off about me, if the punters want to ring in and ask some questions, quick fire questions, I'll gladly do that.
Yeah,
I might, if you want to. I said I'll get Colin Johnson and we'll do it from my gym. We'll sit at the ringside. I'll get Johnny Saint, Colin Johnson, and myself. Just class it as a table with or something like that.
Yeah, round
World
table
sport legends, you know. We'll do it that way.
We'll discuss that and we'll come up with some dates and stuff. But Marty, yeah, I think we're gonna have to do a part three. But thank you so much for joining me again tonight. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Well, it's the first time I've ever waited on a woman.
Well, I'm sorry, but I had to eat. I've got a poorly child downstairs.
I thought you said in there then.
No, he's downstairs. He's down there.
Right. Is he poorly?
He's got a chest infection, so he's Mardy. And then I'd not eaten all day, so I was starving. I was like, oh, might have to be late tonight. Yeah. I do apologise.
I'm winding you up. All right, it's always that. Anyway, I hope to see you when I come up and give me regards to Aaron and that.
Will
and
do.
That, me mate there, Sabrice.
Sabrice that you need to throw into the lake?
Yeah, she's going to take a trip.
She is actually going to kill me. I'm seeing her next week as well. She's going to absolutely kill me for reminding you. Marty, thank you so much. You are an absolute treasure.
I appreciate you're doing a great job too, because there's none of these stupid questions else want to come on, you know. And for all them people that have listened in, all three of you, or whatever it is, right? I hope I give you an insight of the job, but no, keep turning up at them shows and listen. I don't see any wrestling punters. You know, when you do a meet and greet afterwards, there should be questions and answers as well if there's enough time, because you can learn a lot from that. Or just say to the fans, which was your best match, or who do you think should have You know what I mean? Do it that way.
Well, to be fair, some of the shows, because I was learning, the ring announcing.
Yeah.
Sabrice was trying to teach me how to do that. Bless her. Look, we're waffling on again, but Sabrice was trying to teach me how to do that. Bless her little heart. She's got the patience of a saint. That one. And I just took off running into the crowds and asking them what was the favorite match and who was your favorite wrestler and why. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. All right. Go on, sod off, and I'll see you when I see you.
All right then. I'll see you when I see you. Say good night, Marty.
See you, darling. Take care. Look forward to seeing you. Give me regards to them all, will you?
I will do. I'll see you soon, my lovely.
Phone up anytime you want. See you.
Oh.
Ta-ra. Bye-bye.
Bye, darling. So for everybody that's joined us tonight, thank you so, so much for joining us. If you have got any questions for Marty, I think we are going to have to do a part 3. So just by all means, drop us a message and I'll make sure that we ask them next time. Thank you so much for joining us again this week, and we will see you next week.